Hey, what's up guys, it's Texuma talking to you here, and today I want to go over the theory of the M1X chip being modular. This was first introduced recently by Luke Miani, and he talked about in his video how could an M1X chip be introduced in several different devices like the M1X MacBook Pro 14-inch and 16-inch, the M1X iMac and the M1X Mac Pro. So you might be wondering, why would the Mac Pro feature the same chip as the two MacBook Pros? Well, this is simple. The Mac Pro could feature more M1Xs stacked on each other. And before I go deeper on this matter, roll the intro. So, the M1X chip is probably one of the most expected products from Apple in 2021, and it's very, very fascinating to see people looking around trying to understand when will it come out. Gurman just leaked recently that there's no new announcements from Apple from the next couple of weeks, which could mean we won't get the M1X chip on the summer, and the October timeline is the most likely timeline to be correct. So the M1X chip is coming, but only in October. Well, this is a good and bad news. Why? Because maybe our computers and our favorite computers will be delayed until October, but this gives me some thought. I think that Apple is not creating 3 Apple Silicon chips on its first 2 years of the transition. Why? Because I think Apple doesn't have any time. The M1 was released on October, and they started the transition and announced the transition on WWDC. So they have to finish it by WWDC 2022, which gives them less than 1 year. It has already passed more than 1 year, and they only have the M1. So the M1 covers a lot of ground. They covered the entry line, so the M1 iMac, the M1 Mac Mini, the M1 MacBooks Pro and MacBook Air. So in my opinion, I think the M1X will cover the rest of the ground. How could they do this? Well, simple. They will put the simple M1X chip, the single M1X chip, on the MacBook Pros. So we will have 10 cores, 8 high performance cores, 2 high efficiency cores. Then we could see a 20 core CPU, which would feature probably 16 high performance cores and 4 high efficiency cores. This chip would go on to the M1X iMac 27-inch, which would be the iMac Pro. Then we would have another option for the Mac Pro. The Mac Pro would feature an option of 20 cores, so you use the same chip as the M1X iMac, and the 32 cores, so put more cores on top of that. So instead of 16 cores, instead of 16 high performance cores and 4 high efficiency cores, we would have 32 high performance cores and 8 high efficiency cores. So we will have on total 40 cores. This is doubling the cores. How could you do this? Well, you just put and stack M1X chips on top of each other. So if you have 2 M1Xs, you would have 20 cores. If you have 4 M1Xs, you would have 40 cores, just like we were talking about. So the Mac Pro will be modular, like the Intel Mac Pro it is, but you will have to buy M1X chips from Apple, and Apple could happily sell you these chips to be modular. So imagine if you could buy just an M1X and put it on your Mac Pro. That would be cool, wouldn't it? So on the spec sheet, you will have the entry line Mac Pro, which would have 20 cores. Then you could upgrade it to the 30 core Mac Pro, and then finally the most expensive Mac Pro would have 40 cores. Then the GPU is another story. So 32, 64 and 128 cores for the GPU, which in my opinion, it's pretty impressive to have. So Apple will have more options for pros. The entry line machines normally don't have a lot of options from Apple, but the Pro line has. Why? Because Apple wants to sell you more, and which consumer buys more because of performance? Pros. So Apple, when they create Pro machines, they create more options and more modularity. So, my opinion, the M1X will come to the rest of the lineup. The M1X iMac, the M1X MacBook Pro 14-inch and 16-inch, these two will have a redesign, and then the Mac Pro, which will also feature a redesign. And Luke Miani rendered it on his video and showed us a possible concept, not a leak, a concept, showing us how could Apple be working on 2 different types of Mac Pros right now. A smaller Intel Mac Pro and a completely redesigned Mac Pro, which will be more closer and look alike the iMac G4, I think the Mac G4. So that's very interesting, and I would like to see an M1X be modular, because that's a different approach to chips than the rest of the industry, and it would kill it, because Apple would just to manufacture M1Xs. They won't need to do M1X, M1Z. So if they manufacture M1Xs and then stack them on the top of each other, they would save time and money, and the M1X would probably be cheaper than we think, and they could lower the prices or give us more RAM or more performance. So I'm very, very hopeful for that. Also, the Mac Pro could feature, and the iMac also could feature, a separate GPU. Apple could put a GPU internally on top of the M1X, and then you could buy the external GPU to help even more on compute tasks. So probably Apple would give that option to the Mac Pro if you want to, or Apple could simply just say we don't want any external GPUs or dedicated GPUs, and would just give us and leave the Intel Mac Pro instead, saying if you want a x86 machine, you have the Intel Mac Pro with all the programmability, the Intel chip, the Ryzen's and all of that, and GPUs that you want from AMD. But I think the M1X modularity is pretty interesting, and what's your opinion on that? Don't forget to leave a comment down below, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell there, and please leave a like, it helps the channel grow. So what's your thoughts on this matter? I want to hear it, and let's just wait for the M1X patiently. So I guess we don't have much to do. This week is very slow in terms of news, but if you have any topic that I want to talk about on these videos, please comment down below also. So this was Tech Stumer talking to you here. Bye.